do you think are Scotland's foreign policy concerns at the moment?
Well, just now Scotland has a limited range of foreign policy tools available to it, but I think we've got a real reputation for ourselves now, particularly in international development. And I spoke a bit about that today, about the relationship that Scotland has with countries like Malawi, amongst others. And I suppose the other bit of foreign policy that is really has an urgent importance to Scotland that we talked about, all of us today, was about Brexit and Scotland's distinctive take on Brexit.
We heard in this interesting series of discussions and conversations today lots of variety, and so there are people in the academic world who are focused on the immigration regime, and in particular student visas, people in business about the challenges of maintaining a dynamic, young, educated workforce against the demographic of Scotland. Scottish government's priorities are about preserving and making the best of the devolution settlement. So, we have a diversity of challenges, and every part of the United Kingdom will have a similar diversity of challenges.
What would you think at this point encourages people, and how you can encourage people to know about these complex foreign policy issues of people who are not really involved in the policy world?
Well, I think it was really important that this event and others like it have been organised, because one of the many concerning things about the Brexit referendum was really the debate took place after the vote. And it's not too late to have that debate, it's not too late to talk these things through, but it was striking how, compared to really any other election I've lived through, the Brexit referendum was almost debate-free, or almost content-free anyway. So it is important that we involve as many people as possible in this debate. And we were saying just before the event began that not all traditional means of doing that are quite satisfactory. All the newspapers have their own political agenda, generally one, but also the newer media, the social media, have proved very useful, or quite a democratic way of talking about things, but they're also a way of talking to people who have very similar views to your own. So it's good to have face-to-face contact where there can be a real, genuine exchange of ideas.
The way in which I respond is, I know many people on Facebook just put forward a couple of sentences, but what I've done is I've put on longer posts onto my Facebook page on a number of issues. So the last one was on Iran. I've done one on why it's wrong for the American embassy to be moved to Jerusalem, and it gives me a chance as the spokesperson for the opposition on foreign policy to say, this is why we take a different view, and this is how. So, I suppose I would say this, wouldn't I? But what I would say is, for those who are interested in foreign policy and they want to hear an alternative voice, go to my Facebook page.
Engaging people with public policy, foreign policy or others, is trying to persuade to them that it is relevant to their lives. It's not difficult to make the National Health Service, or other policies, pension policy relevant to people's lives, because it impacts immediately. But people think this has got nothing to do with me, it is far away. But in a globalised world, in the kind of world that you occupy, where there aren't the same borders, particularly a world that is instructed or represented in social media where there aren't the same borders, it's less difficult to make that case to you. But I think we need to get out and make the case. But much more importantly, people don't want to be lectured about what the issue is, they want to be listened to.
How do you think that students or the youth today can be involved in shaping and creating a dialogue about such foreign policy?
So I think that social media gets a hard time sometimes, and there are awful things that happen on social media, but it is also a way of opening it up. And I think another way also, to be honest, is the number of sort of like the alternative that seems to be being established to voice radio. You can pick up on the various blogs that people are doing. I recently did an interview with one of the presenters from Radio 4, but it was a much from the Today programme, but it was a much better opportunity to sort of speak for 20 minutes and to speak in some depth. So I think navigating your way through that helps you to be informed, and I think that the same contribution can be made. So I think commenting on the Facebook pages and on the various things, becoming involved in political parties, making sure that your voice is heard. We in the Labour Party have a have a fairly comprehensive policy making process, and at the moment we're calling for people to put contributions into our policy making process when it comes to international relations.
I think there is a real cultural change in the attitude between generations when it comes to foreign policy. The obvious one to quote again is Brexit, where there really was a very stark difference in the way younger and older people voted. You can see that difference too in the independence referendum in Scotland. There were really quite marked differences between the way that younger and older people voted. And I think that we've got to find forums which allow younger people to have that voice and allow them to not just have their own voice, but to have a forum where older people can hear their voice too.
First of all, you need to respect their views. And, despite the fact you may not have experience, and you may actually, as you get older, because you have different priorities, change your views, or when you travel more and learn more and see the consequences, you may change your views. You have to tell people their views are relevant. So, the way in which universities are run, for example, it is relevant to that what students' needs, wants and comments are, and engaging them will improve it. And I watch the interaction of young people with older people, and I can tell you that young people change older people's views when they engage with them. There is no question about that.